So why don't we get into the football season and get into the New York Jets? Because the Jets, really, for the last couple of weeks, have been the talk of the town. It isn't the Giants, because the Giants are rebuilding. They have a new coach, a new GM, a new style of football they have to build from the top to bottom. Robert Saleh has been with the New York Jets now a second year. Joe Douglas has been here for 3. And this offense is completely different, completely shaped a different way. And you sit here and you thought after the preseason game against the Eagles, you thought Zach Wilson's season was over. His career as a New York Jet was over. And it was just a meniscus tear and a bruised knee. When the doctors went in there and all the stories came out and the press got the stories out from the doctor that did the surgery, it was told that it wasn't that bad of a tear in his meniscus, that he could be back before week 1. Early this week, the press was talking to Robert Saleh and talking about Zach Wilson, and Robert Saleh said that Zach Wilson could absolutely start week 1 with the New York Jets. It might not be Joe Flacco. And then as Thursday came along and the final press conference before practice on Friday and getting ready for Sunday, week 1, Robert Saleh, after the practice, said Zach Wilson won't be back until week 4. So what does that tell you and the press that were speaking that Robert Saleh is playing games, Zach Wilson is going to be back week 1, then he won't be back until week 4? All these stories. We don't know when he's coming back. This is football, guys. This is an advantage kicker for Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is not going to tell any team who's hurt, who's not, until really he doesn't have to say anything until the day of the game. I told everybody that I didn't believe Zach Wilson will be back in week 1. That doesn't mean he'll be back in week 4. He could be back in week 2. He could be back in week 5. But of course it's a story because this is an important year for Zach Wilson and this offense. They signed Dwayne Brown, a man that hasn't been hurt in 4 years. He was a Pro Bowl player last year, 5-time Pro Bowl player, 1-time All-Pro player. He gets hurt at practice about a week ago, shoulder injury. He could be out multiple games. He might not be back until Zach Wilson comes back in week 4. The dysfunction of the New York Jets, which we always talk about, they can't stay healthy. They have no luck. They lose important players before the season even starts. Thank God it wasn't a tear in his ACL or a tear in his shoulder where he was going to miss the whole season. But we don't know when Dwayne Brown's going to come back. What we do know is Robert Saleh is one of those coaches that are not going to give you all the information the week of the game. He will not do that. He is a typical savvy head coach that will make sure that he protects his team and protects any advantage going into that game. Now, I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. The chances of the Jets pulling off a win against the Baltimore Ravens, I would say 5-1. I don't think it's any possibility they win on Sunday. Unless Lamar Jackson, the contract dispute, tired of the Baltimore who knows? He comes out flat and lays up a lousy goose egg. Now, I'm not putting down the Jets. I think the Jets have a very talented team. I'm a Jet fan. I've compared their talent to the Buffalo Bills. I think they have just as much talent as the Buffalo Bills does. But Buffalo has something the Jets don't have, at least what we know now. And that is a franchise quarterback. Zach Wilson won't be back until week 4. We don't know if he's the franchise quarterback. He might not be. We know Josh Allen is a franchise quarterback. So it doesn't matter how much talent you have on a team. Ask the Cleveland Browns. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't win. So with the talent that the Jets have at running back, the talent now with the youth of the wide receivers that they have, the secondary that's rebuilt with Michael Carter as the slot corner and Sauce Gardner on one side and DJ Reed on the other, Whitehead as the new safety, and Joyner if he could actually stay healthy this year. Maybe Sherwood. Maybe they move Bryce Hall to the safety position before the season's end. I don't know what Robert Saleh is planning to do with this team. What I do know is Zach Wilson needs to come back week 4, no later, get on that field and play well. Because if he doesn't, Speedy, the Jets in 2023 NFL draft will be looking for another franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and especially if injury risk wasn't his major concern coming out of BYU. There was issues with that with Justin Fields. There was issues with that with some of the quarterbacks in the 2020 draft, not with the case of Zach Wilson. And now a second injury, a knee injury like this, you would want to be able to manage it to the best of your ability. So week 4 seems like an opportunistic time considering what all these Jets fans were reacting to was after the preseason game. But still, it's a knee injury. He's a guy that has to move around a lot. They have to manage it cautiously. I think week 4 is a pretty fair timeline for that kind of thing, especially
You don't think it's long? 7 weeks for a meniscus tear, a slight meniscus tear. I remember when Ron Artest, when he played for the Indiana Pacers, he teared his meniscus, and it was a bad tear. He was only out for 2 weeks. He came back after 2 weeks and played in a basketball game. This is 7 weeks. For a quarterback that had a partial tear in his meniscus, it was a slight tear.
You wonder, though, too, if being that football is much more of a contact sport than basketball is, the way they get hit, too, and especially with Dwayne Brown out now, too. The Ravens are going to blitz a lot. Cleveland's got that massive pass rusher they play in week 2. You don't want Zach Wilson taking all that extra hits with a bunch of backup offensive tackles in there trying to make it. You're going to either have to shift one of your guards to play tackle or just try to play Max Mitchell, and I don't know how ready Max Mitchell's going to be with Dwayne Brown out now, too. George Font can hold up one side, okay, but still, it's a lot to be able to trust. So I don't know if the Jets want to run that risk. In games are not going to be guaranteed to win anyway. The Bengals, the Browns, and the Ravens all have talented rosters. So that might be the sign of caution that they're doing. As far as Saleh, yeah, I agree with you. I think they're doing a lot of deception when it comes to making it a game plan type thing because the Ravens have a lot of matchup advantages in this game. The Jets had a lot of trouble stopping the run last year. The Jets had a lot of trouble stopping tight ends last year. And those are the 2 biggest strengths of the Ravens offense. So Robert Saleh is doing everything good he should be doing as a smart coach to be able to not give the Ravens that kind of edge and be deceptive in that way in order to get some kind of advantage. The game's at home. Maybe they do steal it. Maybe you're right. Maybe Lamar, something's in his head with the contract. I don't know. That's a chance for
Maybe
the
they
Jets to
can't
steal
run
the
the
game.
ball against the Jets. It's something that the Jets have been weak in last year. I mean, the Jets were one of the worst run-stopping teams in the NFL, maybe because they had no pass rush, so they were trying to use Quentin Williams to come up the middle to try to get to the quarterback. This year, with Carl Lawson and maybe Jermaine Johnson and some of the young players that they have on the other side of the ball, maybe they could get to the quarterback. Maybe they don't have to use Quentin Williams and Rankins, the guys that are good run-stopping guys. And then they bring in Quan Alexander, somebody that actually is very good at stopping the run, and C.J. Mosley. So this team could absolutely be one of the best defenses in the league. The questions are, can they get to the quarterback? And 2, is Zach Wilson the quarterback of the future for this organization? And that's only up to Zach Wilson to show everybody that he can be. Because right now, we're unsure. Jet fans are unsure what he is. He is going to miss the first 3 games of the season. Nevertheless, the guy that's going to be starting this weekend is Joe Flacco, ex-Baltimore Raven, a guy that's never played against his former team. The last time he played for this team, I remember, was about 4 years ago. It's been a long time. He won a Super Bowl with this team. It's not too far-fetched that Joe Flacco can go into MetLife Stadium and surprise the country, surprise the world, and knock off his former team.
Right. You remember, too, he was with the Broncos, he was with the Eagles, and never really got to play much there because he kept getting beaten out for those spots, too. So he never got a chance to really get into a groove and get in that schedule where they could play the Ravens again. So now he gets his chance finally after being benched halfway through the 2018 season. A lot of people, including me, thought he should have been brought in that playoff game, too, against the Chargers when they were shut out in the first half.
It's a big game for Joe Flacco, and I think he has a lot to prove. I think he wants to prove to his former team that he can still play. He wants to prove to the Jets and every single team in the NFL asked why they passed up on him when they could have brought him in as the starting quarterback or as a backup quarterback to help out their organization. So I think the Jets really trust that Joe Flacco could go out there and put up good numbers and help them at least compete and possibly win Week 1 on Sunday. It's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing Zach Wilson on the field. I can't wait to watch Sauce Gardner. We do this every year when the football season. We will have our picks of the week. Me and Speedy, before the end of the show, will pick 3 games and make our picks for those 3 games so you can follow us and see who is in the lead by the end of the season. Last year, I think I was.
You are. Yep.
It'll be fun. We do this every single year, so stay tuned for that. Before the end of the show, we will do that. Aaron Donald reportedly sent the Rams a retirement letter. It happened in May, which pretty much told them that he was interested in possibly retiring, and then all of a sudden, they give him a 4-year extension over $100 million. And this is what always happens. Nobody thought, including the LA Rams, thought that Aaron Donald was going to actually retire because this man is still at the top of his game. Unless he had concussion problems, which I haven't seen that, this man could still dominate the game as well as anybody at any position. So when I heard this story, I laughed. This man is going to make a lot of money, not only with endorsements. This is his 3rd contract extension. In about 3 years, he's going to ask for another extension if he's still at the top of his game, just like Von Miller. Von Miller got $120 million, $60 million guaranteed for a 34-year-old. Aaron Donald's a better player than Von Miller. So just imagine if Aaron Donald wants to play another 4 years after he decides to opt out of this contract, 2 years from now, he's going to get another one. He's going to make just as much as Von Miller did, maybe more, by the time the contract is talked about. So I'm not surprised about that story. The whole Lamar Jackson thing, I don't think this is a story. I believe that Lamar Jackson is done with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that everything that they have done to him, the offer that they gave him in the offseason, they matched it to be one of the highest contracts in NFL history, but they didn't want to give him guaranteed money like Kyler Murray, like Aaron Rodgers, like all these other top-end quarterbacks. Even Dak Prescott got more guaranteed money than he did. This is the guy that won the MVP. He's taken his team to the playoffs every single year but one, and the Baltimore Ravens forgot about that. So what is he doing? He's upset. He didn't want to negotiate any more deals. I don't think he had any thought on Friday that he was going to close in on a deal. I think he's going to play out this season, hopefully stays healthy, bet on himself, a.k.a. Aaron Judge, and come to the end of the season, tell the Baltimore Ravens to go fly a kite. They could franchise him, absolutely, and they probably will. And he's going to tell them, I'm not playing a franchise tag like every other player. Trade me. And there's a team in Miami, I believe, after they get sick of Tua this year, because I think this is the end of that whole Tua plan, a.k.a. Hawaiian Tebow. He's going to be gone, and they're going to be looking for a new star quarterback. They don't have a number one draft pick next year, thanks to the owner. So they're going to be looking for a star quarterback. And Lamar Jackson, who lives in Miami, trains in Miami, why wouldn't he want to go and play for his hometown team?
It also seems like, too, that it's going to not even be dependent on how the Ravens perform this season either, that Lamar Jackson's done with them. Like, the Ravens did everything right except for maybe giving more of the guaranteed money in terms of the quarterback process. I thought they were going to be too stingy at the time, and they did. They gave him a lot of money. They just didn't want to give him enough of the guaranteed money. So it seems like even if they do well in the playoffs, even if they go to the conference championship game or anything like that, it seems like Lamar will still be on his way out because it seems like
he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it seems like he is frustrated with them as a whole for whatever reason, with the guaranteed money, with maybe not giving the wide receivers, trading away Hollywood Brown, whatever it may be. There's a lot of factors to that, and who knows, maybe if the Ravens have the injury issues they did last year or they start off slow, who knows? Maybe he gets dealt right at the deadline for all we know.
I don't believe he will be traded.
I don't think he will either because I think the Ravens will be a lot better than last year.
I expect them to make the playoffs. I expect them to be the number one team in that division. They have the most talent. They actually have the running backs this year. Right. J.K. Dobbins will be back this year, so he is going to play. He was a star his first year, and I expect him to be as good as he was coming back from an ACL tear. But what I have seen of this Baltimore Ravens team is wherever Lamar goes, this team is going. They built their offense through Lamar Jackson's style, his talent, his legs. And John Harbaugh is a very good coach, but he's only as good as his quarterback. There's going to be a lot of talk as the season progressively moves forward. And Lamar Jackson has one of those years where he's an MVP candidate, and he gets this team in one of the hardest divisions in football, and it's a hard division, to be the number one seed in their division. It's going to be hard to sell Lamar Jackson in the offseason to re-sign with them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to replace him because the Ravens have had a lot of trouble finding quarterbacks throughout their, granted, shorter franchise history, but still, that's not their strength.